by the United Nations Human Rights Panel to undermine India's sovereignty. In a totally unacceptable act of meddling in India's internal affairs, the UNHRC today moved the Indian Supreme Court here in Delhi, viewers, against what it called were the discriminatory citizenship laws passed by the Indian Parliament. So here we have a situation where a foreign body is challenging Indian laws passed by a parliament that you elected. Within minutes of the provocation from the United Nations Human Rights Group, the Indian government released a statement condemning the foreign meddling, viewers. They came out and said, this is not acceptable. No foreign party has any locus standi in India's affairs. Well, as I told you, even though India has categorically gone out there and rejected the interference of any foreign party in an internal matter, like legislations passed by our parliament, there are those in the opposition, viewers, that not only back this violation of India's sovereignty, but also are gloating over the fact that India has been called out by the United Nations Human Rights Commission and that this UNHRC thinks that it is in some ways within its right to come and preach constitutional morality on Indian soil. This is the strange paradox. And I can tell you that there has been a huge amount of congratulatory messaging on social media today. Here is a petition that has been signed by more than 1 lakh Indian citizens. It has been posted on change.org. We know that certain individuals belonging to certain groups, and you can go through this signature campaign, moved or urged rather the UNHRC to scrap Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, also called the CAA, and that they lobbied and petitioned the UNHRC. So they wrote a global petition, as they called it, to the United Nations Human Rights Council, and they wanted the UNHRC to ask the Indian government to scrap the Citizenship Amendment Bill. It was a big signature campaign that has been launched. It is attributed to an individual called Amir Kutub. Many other people joined hands, and today they have declared victory. So these are the people who are celebrating today, viewers, because the UNHRC has come out and targeted India. Now listen to how this has played out in the public space. Listen to this.
Congress party itself is compromising the sovereignty and independence of our great country by supporting an agency which is clearly meddling and trying to interfere into internal affairs of the country.
সিএবি এবং এনআরসি ইস্যুর উপর সারা ভারতবর্ষে একটা গণভোট হয়ে যাক, আপনি করবেন না, ইউনাইটেড নেশনস করবে। একটা ইম্পার্শিয়াল অর্গানাইজেশন, let them play a very important role.
The UNHCR has intervened in very Supreme Court matters earlier. Its job is to intervene, although it is very rare for an organization to itself file a petition. Possibly struck by the fact that this refugee issues are its direct domain.
Now there you are, viewers. You heard it from two political parties, but the lobby has been emboldening the United Nations. A lobby of political parties, human rights activists, dare the government to go for UN-monitored referendum on the CAA. This is amazing. This is really amazing. That was Mamata Banerjee, December 2019. Asaduddin Owaisi, AMIM chief, in December 2019 again said PM to blame for Muslim world's concern on CAA. This is really ironic because a large number of countries in the Middle East, in fact, have been honoring the Prime Minister for doing a fantastic job of building Sabka Saath and ensuring Sabka Vikas. Now, while these individuals have every right to go out there and try and lobby with foreign agencies, the United Nations, remember the UNHRC's track record has been peppered by selective outrage and appalling endorsements of perpetrators of some of the greatest human rights violations in the world. Now sample this hypocrisy on the UNHRC's part. It pledges to protect rights by repeat offenders like Pakistan, China, Saudi, and Cuba, viewers. This is really, really strange. Yet it dares to needle India. Second hypocrisy, viewers. Pakistan has been elected to the UNHRC in 2012. Now, it is very, very strange that this has been allowed. Pakistan ratified the ICESCR and the ICCPR, which are enabling provisions of the Charter of Human Rights. But it is rescinded from 7 clauses. It rejects equality, it requests equality between men and women, abolition of torture, religious freedom, all of this it has not signed up to. The UNHRC, in fact, praises China on human rights. It commends, and I'm quoting, China's remarkable achievements in human rights. People-centric development and human rights via development. These are the words that have been used by the UNHRC itself to describe China on human rights. The fourth hypocrisy. It hails Islamic influence on refugee law. Now, some of the countries that it has heaped praise on are the ones where minorities are treated appallingly. And it goes on and on and on. It is even silent on the rejection by Islamic nations for Sharia variants. So UN Rights Charter is rejected by a large number of Islamic countries because they believe that this UN Rights Charter is not in consonance with Sharia laws in their own country. Despite that, viewers, the UNHRC is silent, and these people are members. Now I want to open this out and I want to ask some basic questions. And these questions must be asked tonight of all our panelists who today stand guardians of human rights. But before I do that, I want to bring in Sushant Sareen. Sushant Sareen, the lobby is gloating, the Indian government is appalled. How do you situate this narrative first? Let me ask you that.
Rahul, frankly, it comes as absolutely no surprise to me. Anybody who has read any Indian history through the millennia, when you can't fight somebody politically or militarily, what traitors in the country have done is invited external intervention. This is precisely what is happening right now. The traitors of the country are inviting external intervention. They're wanting external forces, external players to come and pressure the government to intervene, to do all sorts of other things. I think the next stage will, of course, be that whichever you were quoting some fellow whose name you took, I forget, some Qutub fellow.
Yes.
The next thing he will do is he will reach out to the Al-Qaeda and the ISIS to come and liberate, like his great uncle Shah Waliullah did when they invited Ahmad Shah Abdali. So that, that's part of our history. That is point number one. But I'm just wondering whether the UNHRC, by impleading itself in a case which is already before the Supreme Court. Indian citizens have full rights to challenge this particular law in the Indian courts, and they've challenged it. The Supreme Court will take cognizance of this law and will rule upon the constitutionality or the otherwise of it. But that's the Indian system. But the UNHRC, when it pleads itself, when it becomes a party to it, then is the UNHRC saying that it accepts the jurisdiction of Indian courts?
Rahul.
Because that is a very tantalizing possibility. I'm not an expert on international law, but a foreign organization which has no locus standi comes and appeals before an Indian court means that it is submitting itself to the Indian legal system and the Indian judicial system, and the possibilities of that are pretty tantalizing as far as I am concerned, because then it means that the Indian courts can summon the UNHRC whenever it wants to and dictate to them what they should do. Because if they can appeal to the court and ask it to intercede, then certainly the Indian courts can also issue directions to them, can't they?
Well, you look at it the other way, and I want to bring in Ajay Shukla. Traitors inviting external intervention is Sushant Sarin's quote. This is what he says is happening. Is Parliament not supreme, sir, in this country, or do we need affirmation now from all sorts of compromised, hypocritical organizations that are running on all sorts of agendas? Are we going to sell ourselves to sabotage our own sovereignty?
Rahul, if your question is, can a law or a sort of initiative passed by Parliament be challenged in the Supreme Court, the answer is yes. India's legal framework allows it to be. I thought you would know that. If your question is, can a foreign entity challenge an Indian sort of jurisdiction in the Supreme Court, the answer again is yes. Indian law is applicable to Indians. It's available, recourse under Indian law is available to foreigners.
The question was very sharp.
So these are two big questions that you...
Ajay Shukla, the question was very sharp to you. The question was...
Let me...
What is supreme for you? Parliament?
Yeah, the question was, are foreign...
No. I never asked that question.
The courts are supreme for me.
I said Sushant
The courts
Sarin...
are supreme for me. Under the Constitution
No, listen to me.
India, the courts are supreme
No,
for me.
one second. Listen to me. Listen to me. I don't think you got the question.
Sure, I'm listening. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
please
What's your
understand the question.
I don't think you got the question.
No, 1 second.
Let me understand.
I'll repeat the question. No problem. Sushant Sarin said that this is a symptom of
Good.
traitors
I'm listening.
inviting external intervention. Anyone today who is bringing in the UNHRC is a traitor inviting external intervention. Respond to this charge.
I would say that this is the same as anyone who is sued in a court of law and who tries to discredit or to blame the other person who's suing it or who's filed a case against him. It's like a thief being given
So do you
discredit,
support
and the thief is
mediation in
being charged
Jammu
under
and
something,
Kashmir,
it
sir?
says The
Rahul,
police are...
Do you support mediation in the Northeast?
I don't
Do you support mediation?
First
I'm asking
of all, listen to me, Rahul. Rahul, listen to me for a moment. You're saying that everybody is gloating at this intervention by the UNHRC. Let me tell you, we are not gloating.
Oh, really?
This is a country.
Have you heard what the Congress party has been saying? Have you heard what the Congress party has been saying?
Freedoms. It was a country.
It was a country
that was a moral beacon for the
It
world.
was.
And today the UN is filing a case against the... It was indeed.
It was.
It was acknowledged worldwide as a moral beacon.
So
in
it's
the
no
days of
longer.
Jawaharlal Nehru.
India is no longer a
Today,
moral
you have
beacon.
the
No,
UN,
Jawaharlal
you
Nehru,
have the
sir.
Iranian
Jawaharlal
ambassador,
Nehru believed,
you have the
believed that his
Malaysians,
government
you
was
have
not
the
capable of
Turks,
addressing
you have-
the situation
you
in
have
Kashmir. He had to go
multiple
running to the
people
United
waiting.
Nations. So we are bringing back the
You have
Jawaharlal Nehru
multiple
model.
people...
No, are you bringing back, are you endorsing the Jawaharlal Nehru model, sir, of foreign mediation?
Nehru model. We are talking about...
Sir, you have served in the armed forces. Indians
regarded by the
in
world
uniform
as a country that
sacrificed their lives to defend us, and Nehru landed up in the United Nations, got completely outflanked by the Cold War powers. You had the Owen Dixon plan thrust down your throat. It has taken 70 years to extricate yourself, and you want to go back
No,
to
the
a
old Dixon
discredited
plan was
United
not
Nations. I want to
thrust down
ask
our
you,
throat.
sir,
We have not
why should I go to the UNHRC?
Rahul, you should.
You tell
should
me,
know
sir.
we have not
You
implemented
first tell me
the
that the
Owen
people
Dixon
you
plan.
want to judge you, are they beacons of moral rectitude? Are they beacons? You tell me, sir. You tell me.
That is not the point.
That
I am
is the
not
point.
Making a case
Should
for
not
them.
the
What
person
I'm
who's
saying
judging
is that
you-
India
No, no, one
has
second.
India has
No, should
today-
not the people that you go appealing to have bona fides
Rahul, India
greater
has today put
than your
itself
own
in a
country,
position-
if that is what you want? But if you're going to
It
go to
doesn't
people
matter. It's
who
even more
validate...
worrying. It's
No, one
even
minute,
more
one minute.
worrying.
You are not going. 1 second. I think
don't
today...
care what the UN is.
Today, sir...
I don't care what the UN is.
Well then, sir, why are you going to the UN if you don't care what it is? Why are you going? Explain.
I am not going to the UN. You've got it wrong.
Oh, I
the
see.
UN has come on its own.
No, sir.
I'm
Here
not
is the
going to the
evidence.
UN.
You
What
want to
makes you
know?
think I'm going
You
to
want
the
to know
UN?
the number of reports that have been filed, sir, before the United Nations by your lobby, especially the HRC? Do you want to know how many people have
Rahul,
gone
if
and
there are
testified
a
in the
whole
United
bunch of
Nations?
people-
How many people have
if
sought
there are a whole
intervention?
bunch
Your
of people-
chief ministers of
if-
states here are saying we want
If there are a
an independent
whole bunch
authority
of
like
people
the
in this
United
country
Nations.
who feel that the
Sir,
country
is the United
not
Nations
capable
independent
of
for
looking
you?
after its own citizens and are then going to the UN.
See, this is the mindset, viewers. This is the mindset. We can find fault with everything, but till today, we never went running. Tomorrow you'll go to Pakistan and you say, come, implead yourself in India's courts. Tomorrow you will land up in China
No, tomorrow
and say,
we
come
won't go
and
to
implead
Pakistan.
yourself in
This
Indian
is-
courts.
there is no
Tomorrow you will
analogy.
go running.
It is
no,
like saying
1 second.
tomorrow you
And
will go to
you are going to
Pakistan.
go to the United Kingdom, in which, of course, there is enough evidence to suggest that we were lobbying. This particular Latvian's mindset is so infected that they even landed up at Jeremy Corbyn's door in the UK, viewers, in England. To do what? To berate India. To have the
actually
Labour
have
Party
no
pass
idea what
resolutions
you're
against India.
correlating with this
Who is the UK?
UNHRC
Who is
thing.
the Labour Party?
You're-
Who are they?
You're correlating
Who is the UNHRC?
everything-
There is no correlation here. This is a
correlating
fact.
everything
Prove me wrong on
the
fact. I want to bring in.
medieval ages,
No, I
from
want to bring in
Jaichand,
Gaurav
from
Bhatia.
Memo,
Gaurav
the
Bhatia.
Ghazni.
The charge
Why don't
is.
you talk about the current. Talk
Fair
about
enough,
the
sir. Let's talk
present.
about the current. For you, a white man's thappa
let me-
might be everything. It's not for us, sir. It is not for us. White people are not cleaner than anybody else. They are not more morally upright than anyone else. You might have some high-fangled, sir,
I
faluting
really wish-
ideas
I
about...
really wish
No,
you
1
wouldn't
second.
make these
Racial
racist
superiority,
comments.
we don't.
Rahul Shivshankar,
We don't.
I really
1
wish
minute.
you wouldn't make these
Let me bring in. No, this is
comments over
absolutely
here.
what it is.
Can I
Let us get the white
Please.
press to give us a thappa. Let us get a white organization to give us a thappa of morality. Don't kid me. This is what it is. This is
The
the
UN
Nehruvian
is
model.
not a white
This is the
organization.
Nehruvian
The
model.
UN is
A
an
white
organization
complex.
of the world.
Let's labor under it for the rest of our lives. Let it be the white man's burden to civilize all of us. I'm sure you know the poem. I'm sure you know it back front. Anyhow, let me go across
Rahul,
to...
which language are you talking
Let
in?
me go
Which
across to
language are
Gaurav
you
Bhatia.
talking in? Just let me know.
Sir, it doesn't matter.
Can I
It makes for easy commerce.
So-
but I don't take the worst out of white society
Rahul.
or the Western world and try to talk it up in the public realm. So let's not try to kid ourselves, okay? I want to bring in Gaurav Bhatia, national spokesperson of the BJP. The charge is that you let down and betrayed your citizens to such an extent that they have no choice but to go to the United Nations, the HRC. Now you respond to that, Mr. Bhatia.
Okay. Yes. I think first things first, Rahul. First of all, we need to understand that in the scheme of the things that we have in our democracy, Constitution is supreme. And Parliament is supreme when it comes to legislation, and judiciary, especially the Supreme Court, is supreme when it comes to the interpretation of the Constitution and the laws. And it is also very clear that CAA, there is a presumption of constitutionality. It is a validly passed law by the Parliament. It has been challenged before the Supreme Court, and the Honorable Supreme Court in its wisdom decided not to stay the act. These are the facts. Now, what is UNHCR? It has no locus to even file this intervention application. And being a lawyer, and I practice in the Honorable Supreme Court, I can tell you, thousands of intervention applications are filed unless they're allowed by the Supreme Court. The UNHCR will not even have a locus to address the court on merits. Secondly, I would not be surprised when this intervention application is taken up. The same lobby which defends the urban Naxalites, the same lawyers who try to browbeat the judges are standing for UNHCR. And do you know why? Because leaders like Mamata Banerjee and the Congress party have emboldened international organizations who have their own ulterior motives to sully the image of our vibrant democracy. And that is why this application has been filed. One more important fact, India is not even a signatory to the Refugee Status Convention of 1951 and the Refugee Status Protocol of 1967. And this very UNHCR, when the Rohingya illegal immigration issue was raised before the Supreme Court, tried to intervene. Do you know what the Supreme Court did? The Supreme Court allowed the BJP government to ensure that these illegal immigrants are deported from India. And so the deportation of Rohingya started. These are the stark facts. We should stop doing politics over CAA, and this is our internal matter, and therefore no external body has the right to interfere in our internal matters.
Okay, Arif Iqbal, who goes to the United Nations today in this country? It is separatists. They go, Arif Iqbal, no one else. This is a separatist mindset at work that has invited the United Nations, the HRC, built a case, gone and deposed, and constantly peppered it with inputs. It has lobbied with people on the panel aggressively. We have seen individuals go from this country to even countries like Pakistan. We have seen it. UK. We have seen it. These are separatists. This is a separatist mindset.
See, Rahul,
do you endorse this?
Within the Rahul, I want to confine myself to the legal aspect of it.
No, you get into this aspect of it. This is equally legal.
Also a lawyer on this panel.
Yes. This is absolutely legal.
Yeah, it is legal, which is why, let me respond. You have asked a question, let me respond. Mr. Gaurav is also a lawyer and he's on the panel. He said that the Supreme Court is supreme, the Parliament is supreme. We agree to that. At the same time, let us not forget that India does not exist in isolation. India is a party to certain convention with the United Nations.
So which convention, sir, which convention have we abused? Tell me, which convention of the UNHRC have we abused, sir?
That is what I'm saying.
Put it out.
That is what I'm saying. We are not talking about conventions being abused. There are two points that I want to make.
You use the word convention, sir. We are signatories to conventions. Which convention has India abused by promising persecuted minorities in countries that do not recognize, by the way, the United Nations Convention on Human Rights in its entirety? Which convention? You tell me tonight. Which convention? You're a lawyer. Tell me which convention? Which convention? Tell me. Tell me which convention? Which convention?
So let me not get into
which convention, sir? Which convention?
It does not even talk about
which convention?
Those three
convention?
Pages. Where is the word persecuted?
Which convention? Name them.
It is not mentioned.
Name
Secondly,
them. Name them.
I am telling you.
Yes, tell me which convention.
Will you even hear me out? I'm answering something you're not even listening.
Which convention?
You want to talk political stuff when the question is
convention?
legal. So you
tell
let
me
know.
which
I will
convention?
Be talking political stuff.
Which convention? Name
I
the
am
convention.
telling you, I am actually answering that India is a signatory to the ICCPR. India is a signatory to the Convention of Elimination of Racial Discrimination. When you are a state party to certain convention, certain bodies, and these bodies have the right to interfere And they are, and mind you, they are not interfering from the side of any
That's
of the
not
parties.
correct legally
They
also.
are
I think my
interveners,
friend doesn't
and
know the
not exactly
Constitution well
interveners, but
probably.
they are here as amicus. So,
Mister, one minute. Don't try to hide behind technicalities. They are here as amicus, they are here as this. I want to ask you which ICCPR convention, sir, name it, show me, and how has it been violated? You tell me. Which one? Tell me, ICCPR you quoted, 1 minute.
Or unconstitutional.
Sir, you quoted ICCPR, which clause? Read it out. Tell me which clause.
What am I telling you? Am I sitting here with a book? Are you expecting your panelists to sit here with a book?
Why not, sir?
Like we do it in
Why
the
not?
court?
You came here to debate. You don't have your facts.
So you
because you don't have your facts because they don't exist, my dear man. They don't exist. If you had your facts, you would have been sitting here before me and quoting the exact clause, chapter by verse of the ICCPR.
I would like to place some facts.
Don't today,
I am
sir,
telling you,
tell me that I have not come here with my facts because you were not expecting me to ask those questions. What do you mean? You think this is a gossip session?
Well, the facts will be out there right in the court and it will be on your face to see.
Read, sir, read to me the fact. Quote. Show me the clause.
That is what
Show
I'm
me
telling
the
you.
clause.
You
Don't come
said
here
that the CAA
to sit here
is
and
for
grandstand.
persecuted minorities.
Don't
I
be
told you
loose
on the
on
facts
facts.
of it
This is
that
India
the
Upfront, sir.
CAA
This is not
does
some.
not even talk
No, 1
about
minute.
persecuted
This is not some
minorities.
gossip show
You should
based on
actually
rhetoric.
explain
This
to your
is
viewers
a
why
show
you
based on
are-
facts. I pride myself on
There is
coming
no
here with
rhetoric.
facts. You
This
show
is a
me which
fact.
clause,
I'm telling you a
chapter and
fact
verse
that this
has
law
been
does not
violated
talk about
of the
persecuted minorities.
ICCPR. You tell
You
me.
are misleading your
You
viewers.
tell me tonight.
Will you explain your viewers that
You
have
tell
just
me
lied
tonight.
here?
May I educate Arif on some more
Well,
facts?
Here is
I
the
have already
gentleman.
told you, you're not
No,
even
Arif,
answering.
rather
When there's
than
a question
ranting,
put
let
to you,
me
you don't
educate
answer.
you on some
You
more
run
facts.
around
Rahul, I would like
certain
to
other
have the-
aspects of it.
Rahul, can I have
Another
26
aspect of
seconds?
it.
Can I
How
have,
many goalposts are you going to keep changing, sir?
Rahul,
on
if
this
I
debate?
can, with your permission.
You
after-
talk on facts here
I'm
tonight,
not
okay?
changing any goalpost.
Enough
It is
of
you
your
who said that the
misrepresentation,
CAA
enough of
is
your
for the
fakery,
persecuted
enough of
minorities,
your
and it is not
propaganda.
for the
You
persecuted
come here
minorities.
with facts.
I told you that there are only 3 pages of the Citizenship Amendment Act.
Rahul,
It
can I
does
just
not
have
talk about
26
persecuted
seconds rather than
minorities.
his
So when it
26
does not
seconds?
talk about
Persecuted minorities are
then
mentioned, sir.
This whole aspect where you
They
say
are
we
mentioned
going to
in the
give them
objects
citizenship
and criteria.
rights because they are
Please.
persecuted falls flat.
Rahul,
You know,
if I may.
you have changed the goalpost.
Reason clearly
I am asking you
mentions that.
under what conventions,
friend has not
under
read.
what circumstances has India betrayed the United Nations Convention that supposedly gives it the locus standi to interfere here? You can't answer that question. What do you go back to? You go back to Indian Parliament, you go back to the
they are
law
not
passed by
interfering
Parliament
from
and you bring
any
out
side.
infirmities in that law.
Please understand
I'm
that
sorry,
the
sir.
intervention is
I'm
coming
sorry.
as amicus
You are
curiae and
changing
not from
deliberately
another
the
side.
goalpost. I want to
They
bring in
are very
Shadat Poonawala on this. Shadat
categorically
Poonawala,
mentioned
I am
that they
seeing
have
an
not
attempt
said that
here,
they are taking
a
sides,
naked,
which
blatant
means at
attempt
this
here
point of
to
time,
change
it
the
is not
goalpost
even
because
important
these
to
chaps
know whether there is
don't
any
know what they are
provision that is
talking about.
contravened.
Here you go. Respond.
Rahul, let me educate my dear friend Arif about some more facts about the UNHRC, in which he places his immense faith, but not in the Indian Parliament elected by 130 crore people. The UNHRC has some worthy members, and I name them: Burundi, Egypt, Rwanda, Cuba, China, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates, all accused of the worst human rights violations, and it is led by Chile, whose Socialist Party leader, Michelle Bachelet, is not much to speak about, and her ideology is very clear. But having said that, these Mir Jafars, or I would say modern day Jaichans, what have they done today? And I don't get surprised by what they're doing. This is the Nehru movement all over again. These are the same people, like you rightly said, they went to Jeremy Corbyn over 370 and over Kashmir. These are the same people who went to Pakistan to seek help to depose Mr. Modi from his power. But I want to ask them that today, you have put an unelected, politically appointed United Nations panel above the Parliament. Secondly, till yesterday you were screaming that Supreme Court pe koi bharosa nahi hai, Supreme Court pe koi bharosa nahi hai. So today you are clearly saying at least this much, that Supreme Court is free and independent, and you are even bringing a foreign body to come and appeal to the Supreme Court of India. So all those allegations you made against the Supreme Court are false. Thirdly, Why is it that there are some people who are hell-bent on always having an anti-India narrative? They take $500 to write articles against India. These are the same people who took a stand on 370, on Kashmir, on surgical strike. When the entire world was with India, they stood with the line of Pakistan. And today, these are the same people who are again putting United Nations panel above Parliament. I think this is the biggest treachery where they have compromised of just vote bank politics. They've sacrificed our sovereignty and our supremacy of our Parliament.
Viewers, who is sitting in judgment of India today in this UNHRC? Let me read out. Venezuela, Congo, Libya, Pakistan, and Sudan. I just want to read out the case of Venezuela to you. In 2015, the Venezuelan government launched Operation People's Liberation, supposedly to address rising security concerns. People and members of the Bolivarian National Guard carried out raids that led to widespread allegations of such abuses as extrajudicial killings, mass detentions, which were arbitrary, maltreatment of detainees, forced eviction, construction of homes, and arbitrary deportation. In November 2017, the Attorney General said more than 500 people had been killed during OLP raids. Government officials typically said they died during confrontations with armed criminals, challenged in many cases by witness or families of victims. In several cases, victims were last seen alive in police custody, so they were killed by the police, viewers. And activists responded with outrage after Venezuela won a fiercely contested vote for a seat on the United Nations Human Rights Council, despite well-documented record of human rights abuses, which I've just read out to you. Pakistan, which butchers its minorities and discriminates racially, which, by the way, Mr. Arif Iqbal is not a signatory in toto to the ICCPR and the other enabling provisions of the United Nations Human Rights Charter. It's not signed up. It doesn't even recognize in its own country equality between men and women, which is bounded by the UNHRC Charter. Can you believe it, viewers? Forget about everything else. They don't even recognize that women and men are equal. And these people are sitting on the council, and these people are the ones that Arif Iqbal and company are going to today say have the capacity to stand in judgment of our great democracy, where people like these can sit night after night on TV and talk nonsense and then still claim that there is, viewers, a crackdown on civil liberties in this country. They have all the freedoms. They can occupy streets. They can sit on TV. They can go to the UN. They can go running around anywhere. They can even go to Kashmir and film there make-believe atrocities. They have all the freedoms to publish it. But viewers, and this is very, very important. This is very, very important, viewers. They still think that this country is denying human rights. Some big breaking news is coming in. We have been able to make contact with the UNHRC. We have spoken to a key official of the UNHRC. He's the UNHRC spokesperson, global spokesperson. Srinjoy Chaudhary joins me. Srinjoy, I remember you wrote about 5 or 6 questions to him. What is the response?
Well, the most important thing is the questions that were really answered and were not answered, the things that were not said. We asked, number one, if there were questions, if the UNHRC was actually asked by people in India, whether it's a politician, whether it's someone from the civil society, whether it's a bureaucrat, to do what they have done. And that question has not been answered.
Has not been answered.
The only point, Rahul, that
Why
we've got...
would you think it's not been answered?
Yes, that's
because
really the important thing. Yes. The other important
point... And they
point,
don't want to incriminate themselves.
Yes. The only thing they've said that this is standard practice. We've done it in different countries. And yes, we are going to the Supreme Court tomorrow, and the amicus curiae will do what he will do, and so on. The important question was really, has someone from India put you to it? Has someone asked whether he's a politician
we will never
or
know,
a bureaucrat?
because they will never care to tell you, because viewers, this is a massive assault on India's sovereignty engineered by pressure groups who work in tandem with other international organizations to build support in different countries who are on the councils of the UNHRC to move resolutions such as this. This is the game, viewers, today. This is the game. This is what is driving the UNHRC. I want to ask the UNHRC, isn't it ashamed of itself that it is being led by the noose today, by countries like Pakistan? Countries like Pakistan, China, and several others who I have listed and named, who don't pay any heed to human rights. It's a shame. And let me tell you, the same CAA, the same law is passed in the United States as the Lautenberg-Specter amendments. Has the United Nations gone and appealed in the US Supreme Court against those laws? No, because America funds most of the United Nations. They don't have the guts. That's the reality, viewers.